That's why I came.
So does anybody have any questions?
Why would the mayor even consider doing this?
No, that's a good question.
Has he seen this?
I don't.
Can I somewhat kind of answer some of the things? And Christine, you know that too, that a lot of times the EPA was coming down on them. You know, we've heard all this stuff at council about all the fines that were coming into, and somehow the county had to come up with some kind of plan and all. So even if something goes into place where if the audit comes through and their recommendation is you gotta do this, but do this and do this and do this because the landfill there, you can't do this, and then the council reacts on that because now we started hauling rubbish to Puanahulu, then you put in a resolution or a law that you cannot now drive trucks to stopping them to bring it to Puanahulu. A lot of things happen that a lot of times if you don't follow, you cannot make sense of it. So this is part of the process that sometimes government has to go through to see what's out there. What if somebody comes in with a plant like this, say we want to build something like this for the Big Island, like what we just saw. You never know. We don't know what's going to come before us as, you know, people wanting to come in and help and do stuff for us. Again, but I'm going to go back to what I said before, and I always say this. The one thing good that came out of this is that the community started to come together and started to think about their own solutions in their own communities. So there's one thing to be thankful for, because in a crisis like that, we come together. And if we continue to do what we're doing in each community and educating, it starts with us, we can make it. We can be sustainable, and we don't need people to come in and say, hey, let's come and save you, like the people who want to create all these GM products, or, you know, we need to come save you guys. They don't need to come save us, because you know what? We can stop it too, because it's us as a consumer has the responsibility of saying whether we're going to buy that or not, yeah? Like that plastic thing, am I going to buy a carton of juice made with paper, or I'm going to buy that plastic whatever? So we as consumers have to start there too. I mean, you look at things that have happened in the past and what we've learned from, and when asbestos was, you know, and then causing now cancer, it didn't get outlawed. It's still legal. But guess what? They're not around. Why? Because the consumers got smart and said, we don't want it, and we're not going to use it for anything. And that's what we as a community will do. I see that happening. I see that happening, and we've got to give ourselves credit as community, because I think we're strong, and I think the county government too, if any. I don't know what will come before us, but we have a good council, and we know what we want for our island. We're born and raised here. I was born and raised here. I'm not going to poison our place. I mean, I get offended.
So I'm going to jump in there and say that the mayor did go before the county council and said that there was this pressure from the EPA to close the South Hilo landfill. We actually contacted the EPA, and I have a letter from them.
Not the South Kona land. They're talking
South
about.
Hilo landfill. The mayor's been saying that there's this tremendous pressure on the administration to close the landfill, and that if he doesn't do it, there's going to be all these fines and all this kind of stuff. And then obviously, you know, that information gets shared with the county council, and Valerie hears it. Well, we contacted the EPA, and I actually have a letter from them that says there's no pressure from the EPA to close the South Hilo landfill.
Okay, the one thing I'm going to stop, Christine, I'm not going to let you come and try to cause dissension in our community with county government and everything, because I can bring the mayor here also to speak, but I don't want you going to say hearsay stuff. I know you got one letter, I know, but that wasn't what the mayor said there too. We had the letters from EPA and some of the fines that may come. We had the auditors, we had all of these reports that these people have no idea of. You giving bits and pieces don't cause a dissension. It's what we don't want in our community. We want to work together to make sure we don't get incineration here. We want to make sure we do the right thing. But coming in and pitting people against each other, or the mayor or government officials and political people against this and this, it's not going to help us. We gotta look forward to what we're gonna do.
Okay, you
So
know,
leave it
what's
out of the
interesting about
equation.
me
That's what I'm
is
asking.
When I go to the county council, I'm given 3 minutes to talk, and if I talk over that 3 minutes, somebody shuts me up. So this is a different discussion, and this is a discussion that I'm moderating, and I'm going to thank you very much for your input. And I'm going to continue. I'm giving these folks some other information because it's likely that when they go out into the community and talk, somebody will say to them, there's pressure from the EPA to shut down the landfill, and if we're not going to do it, it's kind of going to be fines. And I want them to have some other information. I'm not advocating that they get into a fight with anyone. I'm giving them some other information that I think they're entitled to have.
I would ask you if you need that information, I can get you that information. So call my office and I can get you that information, or even the mayor's office. I encourage you guys to call and you know, even through what I say and what I may interpret, it's best to get, you know, if you need to call and get that information. But just don't take for the
Okay, thank you
hearsay.
very much, Valerie.
Maybe
The
you
county
two should
has
show each other your
another-
ETA letters.
The county has 7 more years that, with their agreement with the EPA, to continue to put materials into the South Hilo landfill. And even under the proposal that they're proposing with the incineration company, they are, even in the RFP, they state that they have the ability to take the ash from the incineration project and put it in the South Hilo landfill. So they're, and Bobby Jean Whitehead Todd, who is the director of the Department of Environmental Management, has made statements herself many times that there's as much as another 8 years that they can go at the South Hilo landfill. So there's different reasons that are being given, and you know, some of the reasons that are being given, you can take exception to them. You don't have to buy into them.
Is there any reason why there wasn't alternative considerations besides an incinerator to deal with this overflow of rubbish and how to?
Okay,
Like
so
recycling all those
the
things
mayor
you
came before the county council and made a presentation and said that he was going to put out an RFP for a waste reduction facility. And at the time the presentation was made, the impression given was that it was going to be wide open. There were a number of people that read the RFP. I read the RFP. There were companies who wanted to do something like what's done in San Francisco, who wanted to bid. And the RFP was structured in such a way, you could propose anything. You could propose a popcorn machine if you wanted to, but you weren't going to win the bid. The way the bid was structured, it was structured to reward mass burn incineration, and that's why the top 3 companies were all mass burn incineration companies.
So may I ask, who made that decision to just have it incinerator only?
The way it was written, I'm not sure who wrote the proposal, but the way it was written to select that. And we got feedback from companies. I was told by a company that has a system more like what's happening in San Francisco. And they said, Christine, this is boilerplate mass burn incineration. That's what this proposal is asking for. So we went to Margaret Willey and we said, whoa, help, you know, we need to stop this process. It's going in the wrong direction. It's not an open process. There's companies who want to do mass recycling, and what we're hearing and what we see is that they're not going to win this bid. And she introduced a resolution to the county council asking to have the RFP withdrawn, and that got shut down. She was the only one that voted for it.
So our council people voted to continue looking at incineration only.
It's not, and I'm just gonna warn you guys, and I'm gonna
No, I
let her
asked her the
speak.
question,
I know,
sorry.
I'm gonna let her speak, but I'm just gonna say, just remember, there's another, come to me and ask me, because I have a lot of different things to say about her, but, so I'm gonna leave it this time, Christine, because this is your format. All I ask is don't cause dissension in a community that we're working so well to go into the right direction. Don't throw the government under the bus. All I'm asking is just come and I'll show you the RFP where it allows for besides incineration.
Yeah.
Christine. Found the leaf, please.
Yeah.
Please stay.
It's because it's,
Please stay. You're
I'm getting rainy at a time
No,
because
no.
a lot of things she's saying, it's,
But it's okay to disagree, yeah, in public, it's okay.
Yeah, it's
These
okay to
days,
disagree.
you're elected, yeah.
Did I
So-
finish answering your question?
No, you really did, but I got the nuances of, it was kind of structured towards.
I think they're both
Structured
nice.
church mass, these are all things that I've been told by professionals, people that tried to bid on it, said, Christine, we're not gonna be able to bid on it, this is for mass burn incineration, this is boilerplate language. We go all around the country trying to put in bids for our mass recycling program, and we see this language, this is boilerplate mass burn incineration, that's all you're gonna get. And even one of the three companies on the short list made a public statement, you can read it in the article, to Nancy Cook-Lauer, saying that only mass burn incineration was going to qualify. That's not just us saying it. One of the three companies that's on the short list said it. So that's what
So
we
does
got.
Is the RFP published and available for review by the public?
I don't know if it's still on the website, but we have a copy of it. We can share a copy with you. There were companies that wanted to do alternatives and they didn't. So we tried to stop the process, but
So
we couldn't.
may I ask you another question?
You have to raise your
Raise your hand.
Well, I want to divert the conversation someplace else, so if you want to continue along this line.
Just one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the RFP mandate the standards under which an award is to be made, the criteria which mandates the award? Is it written in such a way so that here are the criteria, the one who gets the most points wins? Just like that?
I think the answer is like, it has to produce 95,000 tons, and then there was another one.
Okay, so you won't find any one place in the RFP where it says this. There's different components, you have to put them together. You have to be able to handle the same amount of tonnage that the tank draws, which is 95,000 tons. You have to have a single proposer, and they have to have at least 2 years' experience, or 3 years' experience by the time the project was set up. So the overall, when put together, you have to be able to process 95,000 tons of municipal solid waste, which is just the stuff all mixed up. You had to have done that for 3 years, and you had to, a single proposal. So now if you're going to do a zero waste approach, you're going to have a number of vendors. You're going to have the compost person. You're going to have the person that knows about recycling. You're going to have the person that knows about, running a buyback center. And so if you are a coalition coming together to bid on this RFP, we're going to take the plastic, our partner here is going to do the composting. You automatically didn't qualify because you had done a single proposer, okay? Then you had to have experience handling 95,000 tons of municipal solid waste. Well, the composting person, at the right percentage that we would need, would be someone who had experience handling about 30,000 tons, not of municipal solid waste, but of compost. And so, we actually worked with a coalition of people, zero waste people. We're so excited, let's all come together. We're going to do the compost, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they couldn't even qualify for the bid because they were coming together as a coalition for the first time. So if there was a single proposer, they didn't have this 3 years experience. But the compost people had more than 20 years experience with compost, so on and so forth. So it shut out the coalition approach, which if you're going to do zero waste, that's what you need is a coalition. And that was the alternative.
I'm not an expert at all on this, I'm just learning. But one of my questions is, San Francisco zero waste seems like a total joke to me, because they're shipping what they don't want someplace else. And we're probably going to Southeast Asia, where the waterways are clogged and in terrible shape because they have all of our filth that we don't want. So that's not zero waste. True zero waste is when we stop allowing plastics from American Chemical Company to come into this island, and we figure out other ways to deal with that. why are the lobbyists of American chemical companies so strong? And why is our government so weak in terms of dealing with the plastic issue? Incinerators are just completely playing catch-up. They're not solving a problem. They're just dealing with the ramifications of our own bad habits. We really have to rethink the whole process. This is a finite land, this is a CBLOC land map. We could really start controlling things policy-wise. We've started with the plastic bags. Why are we not moving in this kind of direction? And really, please don't tell me zero waste with San Francisco anymore. As soon as I saw them shipping their plastic over, I thought, shame on you, that's totally sinful. You're just not seeing where your plastic's going anymore.
So there's a lot in there, I'm gonna try to.
Okay.
So first thing is, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. There's a transition that's being made. Before we were just like, woohoo, we'll make a bunch of trash, we'll throw it away. You don't see it, okay? Now we're not gonna do that. Now we're gonna start to see it. We're gonna get our hands on it. We're gonna start dealing with it. We're gonna confront it. There it is, the landfill, it's full, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Here's all this stuff piling up, what are we gonna do? We're gonna ship it to China, because that's what we're gonna do, because we're not gonna burn it, we're not gonna bury it. But it's a process. Now we have our hands on it. All this time before, we weren't even looking at it, we weren't even paying attention to it. You didn't even know that there was plastic in there. You didn't even know there were 7 different kinds of plastic. Now you know. So the first step might be to ship it to China, But that doesn't mean we have to stay there. At least we're doing something with it. We're taking a step in the right direction. So I support what they're doing in San Francisco. I think it's really good.
It's still polluting our seas, and the sea life is still eating it, and then it's coming back to us.
Absolutely. And so this awareness that you have about that is also part of this awareness of what are we going to do with it? Because there's this urgency to do something with it when you have it and it's considered trash, okay? So they send it to China. So now we're having this conversation. Based on this conversation, we could say, hey, we don't want to do that. We want to consume less plastic,
Yeah.
okay? That's really is the solution, which is the other big problem when you have incineration. It's like opening up the floodgate. Woohoo, let's just keep shoveling it all out.
More plastic, yeah.
And we're just going to keep drawing off of the natural resources, and it's not a solution. The solution is to create less waste to begin with.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Less plastic waste.
And-
Bottles or bottles, I don't, bottles, no, food waste, yard waste, fine. It's the plastic, which is the big
Plastic is a
issue.
huge problem. Plastic is
The
a form of
packaging.
pollution. It's actually a form of pollution. And so next time you pick up a piece of plastic, think
Or a
long and
straw.
hard
or-
about whether you need it. Do you need that straw? Do you need this? Do you need, all this kind of stuff. As for the question of why we're not doing this, obviously because we've had a lot of legislation, resolutions, ordinances, things that have been passed mandating. Last time this whole idea of an incinerator came up, it was voted down by the county council. There were things in motion to go towards zero waste. There was a zero waste implementation plan created by the county. The organization I work for, Recycle Hawaii, I'm a very critical person. I've only been working there 4 years. When I first came in there, I blasted everybody. I'm like, our organization, why aren't we doing anything? Here's the zero waste plan. Why haven't we been making this happen? There was just this kind of lapse. And instead of really seriously, honestly pursuing this zero waste plan that we have, the powers that be at Department of Environmental Management decided to just cut these slivers into the landfill and put more stuff in. And they didn't seriously embark on any kind of a plan. And we just haven't done it. But it doesn't mean that we can't do it. We absolutely can.
I agree with you. I hate plastic. I hate it so much. And I think it should be illegal, all plastic. I hate it. And I hate what it's doing to the oceans. But I've learned a lot about zero waste, and I see it as a step toward getting rid of plastic. Because if incineration, I don't think of incineration and landfills as being equal, because once you incinerate that plastic, then you create dioxins, which is a whole other can of worms that goes also into the ocean. So it's like horrible versus bad. And my dream in life is to live long enough to see us ban the manufacture of all plastic.
I think we should sue the American Chemical. That'd be great, a huge lawsuit.
Everyone has plastic glasses on, this is classic, yes.
It seems to me that we're all on the same page. It seems to me that we all don't want our waste ending up in the air and the land. It seems to me that we're on an island, and for us to have zero waste, we have to figure out what we can do with what we consume staying on the island. So that seems to me to be a massive educational program. And it seems to me that, like Valerie said, it's important for all of us in our own communities to figure out how does this kind of program become funded and sustainable so that it can be functional here as our culture. And if it's the finances to make it sustainable so that we can reach out and educate each other and start working on all different levels, and whether it's legislation or composting, we need to figure out how can, instead of going to the county always for money, how can we create this as an enterprise where it can sustain itself? And,
Okay, well, here's something you
and
have
one
to
of,
understand.
let me
You
just
as a
finish, let me just finish, okay? I'm really tired of talking about the problems. I wanna talk about, you know, and I wanna be real, you know, like people need to make a living. You know, they need to have food on their plate, and so whoever is involved in this, they need you know, something to sustain them. It's the same with the recycling center. And I don't know if, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a business person, and I know that you guys that are doing the composting that's a fabulous system. Is there any way where we can think of the resources that are getting trashed to make money to help the whole recycling system, not just the green waste and the compost, but like, can we as a county buy that landfill? I mean, that compost pile. Can we, as a $10 million for, you know, buying that property and work with professionals like you guys to help look at the whole picture? You know, like, we're an island. We don't have big manufacturing companies, you know, to recycle plastic. We don't have manufacturing companies for tin. We don't have manufacturing. We're an island, but we can manufacture compost. I'm trying to think, let's stop looking to Uncle Sam to pay for everything and figure out how can we do it with what we have and work with the entrepreneurs, work with the people that understand recycling, and, you know, start thinking of a bigger plan that is respectful in, you know, people that are putting out big bucks for the, you know, what they're doing with the composting, and seeing where the system does rejuvenate itself.
Okay, so one thing you have to understand is that you as a taxpayer, you're already paying to have these materials handled. So this idea that if we want to do recycling or something, we're going to Uncle Sam and we're asking for money, the money's already being paid. It comes from your property taxes. So the idea is, how are we going to transition from a system where you're paying to have things landfilled, or might possibly pay to have things incinerated, and instead you're going to pay to have things recycled? You're already paying that money.
We're talking about the same thing.
And so here, right now, on average, we're paying about $90 a ton to have these materials processed. Okay.
Throw that one away.
To have that process. Okay. Now, part of the deal that is being offered to the possible incinerator, the 3 companies that are left on the short list, is the county's going to give them about 14 acres next to the Hilo landfill. They're going to promise to deliver 95,000 tons about. They're going to ship it, they're going to bring it. They're going to collect it at the transfer stations, they're going to collect it around, they're going to bring it down to the site. They're also promising to haul it away. And they're promising a 25-year contract. So I say the same thing you said. If we as a community, we're going to get free land, free resources, they were going to get delivered to us. Anything we didn't want was going to get hauled away, and we could go to the bank with a 25-year contract, and we were going to save the county $90 a ton. You try multiply 90 times 95,000 tons, and you tell me what kind of money you're talking about. Okay? This was the kind of proposals that we wanted to put in, and this is the solution. The solution is to start out with a buyback center. What is a buyback center? Buyback center is a place where you can bring white paper, you can bring jars. It's not glass, it's jar, it has value. There's people that are willing to do this. You could bring it to the buyback center. They have a mixed recycling bin. The mixed recycling bin, everybody throws things in, it's like one step away from trash. But what if you took the time and you came down with a box of beautiful white paper? You'd get something for that at the buyback center. So this buyback center is meant to attract things in the highest possible value. Then you have a mass recycling, like we saw with in San Francisco. And people will tell you, well, we can't do that because we don't have curbside recycling. Okay, there's people, Department of Environmental Management, we've gone to talk to them, they say, no, we can't do that. You don't have to have curbside recycling. Right now, 86% of the people on this island are trained to take their discards down to the transfer station. They do it. Right. It doesn't cost the county anything. They bring their stuff. So this is actually a really good system. But we also do have curbside recycling. It's in the private sector. So we can gather these materials, we can bring them down, start with the buyback center, do mass recycling. Then we have composting, not green waste, but actual composting. And we have these places all around the island, so it's convenient for people.
It doesn't work though. The composting, a lot of it is already affected by coqui frogs and herbicides and pesticides, and you can't put all of that together with good green waste. So there's more that needs to be done.
Short comment on that. You were here earlier when we talked about pesticide and herbicide.
No, she was not here, Bob.
No, but I did 5 experimental sites with Bokashi with our county.
Okay,
So I have somewhat of an understanding of the soil amendment.
coqui frogs, forgive them. Red fire ant, forgive them. They compost very well. I'm not trying to be smart, but it is a way to clean up that material that's infected with coqui frog or with fire ant, or with minor parts per millions of materials that is used in agriculture and landscaping can be broken down. The compost process is analyzed in the end, and on a world scale, we find this to be the truth. So the green waste is not, the food waste is not.
It still has to be
He's
like
right.
that.
There's a
I know.
difference.
No, I'm
He's
there,
right
but
on it.
I'm just saying, like, it's like the recycling thing, right? You take your plastic bottle, you don't take the cap off. So there still needs to be some standards that are
Oh,
followed.
absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
They take caps on
You know.
them. They take caps on them. You can leave the caps in the plastic
You know,
bottles.
Bill Rice and Terry Markovich, they started Recycle Hawaii a long time ago. So Bill's family, to me, I'm a little bit in the know about this stuff. And how far back are we going to go? Are we all going to sell our cars and ride horses? How far back are we going to go to save our Aina? Like really, it's in the air, the toxicity is everywhere. Because of big industry, are we going to go and dynamite Walmart and Target Like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go green conventional all the way? Because I'm a native Hawaiian, and it's sickening me beyond belief what has been done to our land, to our sacred mountains, all the way to our oceans. 90% of our reefs are dead. So we are on an island. Things are finite resources. But we do have to come together and have these discussions. And I really appreciate your tenacity in coming out here and helping educate people. There are other people with other ideas also, though. And I just want to say, like, we should come to some kind of POA of what works. Some plan of action for everyone, from the homeless to the billionaire on this island. Everyone. Because we are all inclusive.
Why is what she's saying not matching?
Because there's a little bit of history that is lacking and I'm not allowed to disclose about the incinerator. Because I worked at Hawaii Wildfire Management and had private information of things going on here that I can't talk about. I signed a disclosure. So what you know publicly, there's a little bit more going on behind the back scenes of things. And we're just all trying to do our best. So.
Okay, so just to wrap this up, if you do all of these things, you can get whatever's going into the landfill down, and maybe there would be 20% left. And this is really what we're talking about. What are we going to do with this 20%? This is what the discussion is. And it could get pretty heated. You know, some people think, well, you know, we should have a small-scale incinerator. Some people say small-scale, like anaerobic digestion. Some people say ship it to Oahu to H-Power. Some people say send it to Hulu. We can get all kind of, you know, heated about this, but really what we're talking about is 20%. So then I'll wrap it up. Looks like people are ready to come on. Does anyone have any other questions?
So is that 20% on plastic waste? Is that essentially
No,
what it is?
no, it's going to be things like diapers, like what they call offal. This word.
But that's compostable.
It's not compostable, it's organic. You can break it down, but you can't put it in a compost pile. High density biosolids, offal is one of those.
No, it's like intestines.
Disintegrating now. Yeah, everybody's going home. All that good stuff. There'll be some medical waste. There'll be certain kinds of things that you can't compost, you can't recycle.
So the plastic then is not an issue?
Plastic can be recycled. They can, for the most part, plastic can all be recycled. And really that's what the competition is, because with an incinerator, what they covet is plastic. It's the closest thing to oil. You know, it's made from fossil fuels. They want paper and they want plastic, really what they want. And they're taking other things, but that's what they want most of. So it's a competition for those resources.
If they want to burn it, who's going to make that?
You know, dioxins, there's new technology where they burn at a very high temperature. It's called complete combustion. And they claim that they don't make dioxin, and they have scientific evidence for that. But the thing is, most of the plants that are in operation now do not use that technology. But also, in order for them to keep that promise, their technology has to work 100% of the time. And we know that's not going to happen. So I just want you to be aware of that, because I don't want you to leave here and have someone come and tell you, oh, this power plant, and they say they're not going to make any dioxin. Are they lying? Are they telling the truth? They make that claim. They make that claim that they, with complete combustion technology, don't produce dioxin, because they operate at like 1,000 degrees and higher, and 1,000 degrees and higher you can't form dioxin. And they also claim that the ash that they produce is not toxic. But again, the technology has to work 100% of the time for them to be able to keep that promise. So,
Thank you
So essentially, if we got rid of our plastic, if we lessened the plastic on this island, we wouldn't really need an incinerator. The awful becomes the problem.
I don't think we need an incinerator anyway, but plastic, that definitely is the future, is getting rid of plastic. And also, there's a lot of technological advancements for things like bioplastics. I've seen bioplastics that are made from sugarcane. They sort of help us, they sort of don't. It's a work in progress.
Hopefully it'll happen soon.
I have a question for everyone to know, and it's important, so if you're still here, you all are still here. I had just asked Valerie this question, and the answer was, the question is first, if the RFPs come in and are reviewed, is the county obligated to make a purchase? The answer is no. That's important to know. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for coming.